Today we are going to speak about the fourth and one of the greatest prophets, Prophet Nouh or Noah, the second father of humanity. Adam is the first father of humanity. Nouh or Noah is the second father of humanity. And we'll get to know why this happened. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran that Noah is one of the most beloved prophets to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَى آدَمَ وَنُوحًا وَآلَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَآلَ عِمْرَانَ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen from among all humanity these particular prophets. Adam, so that shows that Adam is one of the most beloved humans to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Noah, the second, and then the third, the Ala Ibrahim. The family of Ibrahim, meaning Ibrahim and his descendants. And Ala Imran includes the family of Imran includes Maryam, Mary, the Virgin Mary, and Jesus or Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. So these are the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala among all human beings. This is the story of Noah. So Nouh lineage, just a quick revision. Adam has the son Sheath, as Enosh, his son is Canaan, and then his son is Mahalil, his son is Jared, his son is Idris. We stopped last time at Idris. Now Idris has a son, Methuselah, and then the son is Lamih, and the son is Nouh. So as you can see from this lineage that Nouh is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nouh is the 8th grandson of Adam. Nouh is the 8th grandson of Adam. And this is the lineage here. And Nouh is one of the 5 prophets known as the prophets of the strong will. أولي العزم من الرسل. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there are 5 chosen prophets among all prophets. These are the 5 of them. أولي العزم من الرسل. Who are they? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Noah, and Abraham and Noah. One more time. Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that sequence. These are called the Uli al-Azmi min al-Rusul. The question is Adam one of them? The answer is no. Adam is not one of the strong-will prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. Indeed, we have found that Adam did not have a strong will, and he sinned, as we all know the story. Also, Noah came a prophet at the age of 50. And he continued to call his people for 950 years. And so that's total of 1,000. And then he lived for 350 years after the flood, after his people were destroyed. So the total age of Noah is about 1,350 years. These are from historical references. It's not in the Quran, it's not in the Hadith. So it is okay to mention them, but we do not indeed rely on these numbers heavily. So the story of Noah as follows. Where did Noah exist? Noah existed in southern Iraq, what is known now as Iraq, near a city called Al-Kufa in Iraq. It was a large community, descendants of Adam, as we mentioned, and they had idols. They had idols. These idols are called Wad, Suwa', Ya'quth, Ya'uq, and Nasra. So what are these names? Practically, these names were very good people. They were righteous people that lived among the people of Noah many years before Noah was born. And the people loved them so very much to the point that they were guiding them. These people, Waddan, wa Suwa'an, wa Yaghutha, wa Ya'uqa, wa Nasra, they were good people, righteous people, guided their community, their country to the right path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they died, their people started to make tombs, like a piece of stone, and put it on their graves so they can remember them. They were so much in love with them to the point that they wanted generations after them to remember these righteous people. So they made these structures and then they put it on their graves. After several generations, Shaitan came as usual, whispered to the people of Nouh, telling them these structures are not really for anything but for gods. He whispered to the people and convinced them that these structures are made for gods. And he started whispering to the people to worship these stones. So the people, of course, were deceived. They have no reference or guidance, so they fell into the trap and they started worshiping these idols. So Waddan, Suwa'an, Yaghutha, Wayauqa, Nasra, they were righteous people, but the people of Nuh, they started worshiping them as gods. And that is very critical point in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ forbidden us as Muslims to have any structure above the grave. So when we bury our dead Muslim brothers and sisters, their grave must be leveled up with ground. It is okay to put a little stone to mark the location of the grave, but it cannot be of a high rising. It can be maybe 6 inches at the most. Something significant to know the location of the dead person. But there is a very wrong practice happens in the Middle East and in India and Pakistan. When righteous people die, until today, they still commit the same exact mistake. And they build these big structures. In Egypt, I have seen, and Taffy was with me when we went to the last time to visit the grave of my parents. People build the structures like a big room on top of the grave. Why? Because they are so much in grief of losing very beloved people, and they started making these structures so that people can remember the righteous people that they beloved so very much. All of that is not Islamic. All of that is 100% against Islam. If you see the graveyards here in the United States of America, you see that they are indeed compliance with the Islamic instructions from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They are all leveled up. So this is a great lesson for us to learn as Muslims. Now, we did mention this. They were righteous people. We already covered this point, so we'll move to the next point. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Nouh as a messenger, as a prophet to his people. And Nouh continued to breach out the monotheism, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. He said to his people, اعبدوا الله واتقوه وأطيعون. If you indeed follow me and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have piety in your heart, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يغفر لكم ذنوبكم. He will forgive your sins. ويؤخركم إلى أجل مسمى إن أجل الله إذا جاء لا يؤخر لو كنتم تعلمون. The call of Nouh, preaching of Nouh is the same identical preach for all the prophets and messengers. There's no difference. Every prophet that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide the mankind, their message was the same. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah alone. Do not associate anybody else with him in your worshiping. And follow me. Follow my instructions, because I'm the prophet of God. So Nouh's mission continued, but he was so much. Nouh continued to worship. Nouh continued to reach out to his people, and he was very, very sincere and has great deal of perseverance. قال رب إني دعوت قومي ليلا ونهارا. He continued to reach out, to call them for worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. For, as I said earlier, 950 years, day and night, ليلا ونهارا. فلم يزدهم دعائي إلا فرارا. The more I call them to become the right path, the more they deviate from the right path. The more they continue to worship their idols, the more they continue to worship their gods. وإني كلما دعوتهم لتغفر لهم جعلوا أصابعهم في آذانهم واستغشوا ثيابهم وصروا واستكبروا استكبارا. جزاك الله خير حبيبي، بارك الله فيك والله. الله يكرمك، بارك الله فيك، جزاك الله كل خير والله، حياك الله. الله يكرمك، بارك الله فيك، كرمك الله والله. ها بنان، اوكي طيب ماشي ان شاء الله، حاضر. So Nuh continued to preach out, to call his people to the right path, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they continued to resist that. Every time he approached a group of people sitting down and asked them to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they put their fingers in their ears just to block hearing him. And then he continued to preach to them. Then they raise their clothes and then they cover their face like this. We don't want to hear from you. They were so stubborn people. They were so evil people. And Noah did not give up. For 950 years, he would approach them. And some of them says, why you are coming to our private meetings? Why don't you call us in the public? He says, fine. Then the next day he goes in public, deliver public speeches. He calls people, come over. Come over. And then he started preaching out in public, deliver public speeches, stand in a rock and deliver public speaking. And then some of them says, why you are calling us in public? Why can't you come to our homes and call us in private? Then the next day he goes to their homes and call them privately, 1-on-1 or 1-to-5 or 1-to-6 in the small meetings. They continue to try to have excuses to block his da'wah, to block his breach out to the monotheism of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were so evil people, yet he did not give up. 950 years, a great role model for us as Muslims to continue to make da'wah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Nuh continued to ask them, فقلت استغفروا ربكم إنه كان غفارا. I asked them to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their Lord, for forgiveness. يرسل السماء عليكم مدرارا. Allah will send his bounties, rain that will water your crops, and that will provide you with lots of bounties. ويمددكم بأموال وبنين ويجعل لكم جنات ويجعل لكم أنهارا. So here is some lessons for us, which is actually mentioned on the tongue of Nuh. Nuh here, he said what did he say? He said, ask forgiveness of your Lord. Indeed, he is ever perpetual forgiver. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you. Anybody of us, any Muslim committing a sin, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sincere forgiveness and repentance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant him or her complete forgiveness. There's only one sin that Allah does not forgive. Anybody can guess what sin is that? The most major sin ever that Allah does not forgive, but he forgives all other sins.
Shirk.
Shirk, exactly. Disbelieving, disassociation of others in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the only one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive. Anything else, Allah is capable and Allah will forgive, including very major sins, alcohol, killing, adultery, fornication, lying, anything. With a sincere repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will forgive these sins. The second lesson for us here is that when we ask sincere forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will send his bounties to us. So if we have shortage in money, if we have shortage in income, if we are really in a need of material substance, then what is the path, what is the way to get more money, to get more wealth? Ask for forgiveness. This is the lesson here. It is very clear in this sentence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so Nuh said to his people, فقلت استغفروا ربكم إنه كان غفارا. Ask Allah for forgiveness. And if you do sincerely ask for forgiveness, يرسل السماء عليكم مدرارا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you from his bounty. So anybody that suffers from shortage, what is the way? Ask for forgiveness. Istighfar. Astaghfirullah, 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 continuously. After the prayers, while we are driving, any idle time that we have, we are not working or studying, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. Allah will give you from his bounty. We expand his sustenance and give you rizq, inshallah. And then he continued to say, ما لكم لا ترجون لله وقارا وقد خلقكم أطوارا. Don't you see that Allah is the one who created you in this great shape? You have brains, you have mind, you have eyes, you have ears. All of these are bounties from Allah that he has given you. Don't you see that? He is the one who created you. not these 5 idols that you claim that they are lords or gods. None of them has anything to do with you. They have no power whatsoever. ألم تروا كيف خلق الله 7 سماوات طباقا. Don't you see that Allah has created 7 heavens above you? وجعل القمر فيهن نورا وجعل الشمس سراجا. Don't you see that Allah has created the moon and created the sun above you? Basically, he was trying to tell them that look at all of the signs around you, that all of these are the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These idols have nothing to do with these creations whatsoever. So he continued to give them logical reasoning for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. His people were so arrogant, especially the elites of his people. So what happened after preaching out? A very small number of people believed in Nouh. They became worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they were from the lower layer of the community, the poor and the needy, not the elites, not the leaders, not the ones in control of the economy and politics. They are the lower layer of the society, that the people who believed in Nouh, and they became his followers. And this is really clearly explained here in this ayah. فقال الملأ الذين كفروا من قومه ما نراك إلا بشرا مثلنا. So the elites or the leaders or the high rank of the society, the political and the economical leaders, they said that, why should we follow you? You are just one of the ordinary people among us. You are not a leader. You are not a son of a king. You are not a king among us. Why should we follow you? وما نراك اتبعك إلا الذين هم أراذلنا بادي الرأي. We see that the people who followed you are the poor people, the lower layer of the society, the less intelligent people, the less fortunate people. None of the elites followed you. So that means what you are preaching is indeed not like suitable for the high level people, the elite people. We will not follow you. This is out of the arrogance of the elites and the leaders of the society. قال يا قوم أرأيت إن كنتم على بينة من ربي وأتاني رحمة من عنده فعميت عليكم أن نلزمكموها وأنتم لا كارهون. Don't you see that I might be the prophet of God that he sent me to guide you? What is wrong with that? It is very, very natural for Allah to choose a messenger from the people. Why? Because if Allah chose any other creature to become prophet or a messenger of Allah, then they cannot be resembled. They cannot be mimicked. So if Allah send angels, for instance, to guide people, then the people will say, well, we cannot really follow you because you are really created with no ability to disobey Allah. We cannot follow you. So Allah always send the messenger from the people that they live among them. Why? Because they are a good role model that people can follow, can mimic, can follow their footsteps. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that every prophet was sent from among his people. That also applies to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with one exception, that every prophet sent before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his da'wah, his call, was for his people only. But the da'wah or the call of Islam that came through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was for all mankind. That is the difference. You get my point? So Moses' da'wah was for all the children of Israel. Jesus' da'wah was for also the children of Israel, by the way. Right? This is in the Quran and even in the Gospels. Nouh da'wah was for the people of Nouh only. Ibrahim da'wah was for the people of Ibrahim, etc. So every prophet da'wah was for his people only, except the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah said in the Quran that he sent Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be the prophet, the preacher, the messenger to all mankind, not only to the Arabs, not only to the Middle Eastern, not only to the Semitic race, but for everybody. And the reason for that is because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final and the seal of all messengers and prophets. No other prophet will come after him. So, as you can see, the elites among the people of Nouh, they rejected his da'wah. They said, no, we will not follow you whatsoever. Why? Because the lower class people followed you. And we are elites, we are higher class. We cannot really be sitting among them. And that is not like a weird or odd trait of the elites. The elites at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu they did the same thing. The elites at the time of Moses, they did the same thing. Every prophet that preached out in his community automatically rejected by the elites. Anybody can guess why is that? Why the leaders of the community are the first to reject the da'wah of a prophet or a messenger? Anybody can think about a reason. Why it is like the norm that the lower class of the society follows the prophets first, not the elites. The elites, the leaders always reject the call of the prophets and messengers. Any idea why is that? Exactly. They don't want to lose their power. The elites have two types of power all the time. Political power, which is leadership, control of the people, and the economical power. So if they subject or they follow the prophet, they have to surrender this power. And they don't like to do that. Automatically, any powerful person, for the most part, they are arrogant. They don't want to give up their power. They want to hold on the power so very much. So why should I follow? They always have this thinking. Why should I follow this prophet or a messenger and then surrender my power? Either political power by being a leader, being heard and followed by vast majority, or my economical power. Why should I surrender that? That's why the elites always resisted the da'wah of the prophets and messengers. Does this make sense to everybody? Assalamu alaikum, sister. You can come here in this table, inshallah, next to the system. So as we can see, the resistance of the da'wah of Nouh started by the elites and propagated to the entire society. Only small number of people followed Nouh. They believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of them? There are variations in the narrations. Some narrators said they are 7 and the maximum number is 80. So the actual numbers of followers of Prophet Nouh was from 7 to 80. Some historians, some companions of the Prophet did research. They said they were 73, but the number varies between 7 and 80. So the elite asked Nouh to expel the poor. They said to him, which is another phase of da'wah. They said, well, you are calling us to be your followers. Okay, we may consider that. So see their arrogance. We may consider to be one of your followers, but before we come and sit and listen to you, you must get rid of these poor people. Get rid of them. Expel them from your home. Don't let them be around us. They are poor people and we are the elite. See how arrogant they are? He said, get rid of them. Get rid of them from your home. Sister, you may come here closer. That's probably easier for you, inshallah. And this is really clearly stated in the Quran. Nuh, of course, said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. Anybody who believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through me, I will never expel them from my home or from my surrounding the congregations, the meeting that I'm doing. وَيَا قَوْمِ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ إِن مَالًا. Don't you see that I'm not asking you for any financial reward? I'm doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So don't ask me to get rid of the poor people, because these poor people in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are higher rank than you. You are disbelievers and they are believers. So don't ask me to get rid of them. I will never do that. وَيَا قَوْمِ مَنْ يَنْصُرُ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِن تَرَدتُّهُمْ. If I do that and I expel them out of my home or out of my meeting, how can I face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this great sin? I will never be able to do that. And if you're thinking that وَلَا أَقُولُ لَكُمْ عِنْدِي خَزَائِنُ اللَّهِ وَلَا أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبِ. If you are thinking that I have the treasures of earth and I can bring you lots of money for the sake of you accepting my da'wah to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are absolutely wrong. I'm not going to bring you any fortune. I'm not going to bring you any treasure or money whatsoever. My call to you is for one single thing. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah alone. That's the only thing I'm asking you to do. So Nuh continued to argue with the elites of the community. And of course, there are massive number of people are following the elites, which is the norm. Then at the end, the elites, they said, Nouh, you reached the end with us now. You must stop. We are not going to listen to you anymore. قالوا لئن لم تنتهي يا نوح لتكونن من المرجومين. If you don't stop at this point, we're going to punish you. You reached the limit now. We are not going to take your da'wah anymore. Who's speaking now? Who's saying this? Huh? The elites or the leaders of the community. They are saying that. So now they started to threaten Noah. If you don't stop, we're going to punish you. We're going to punish you. We're going to stone you. We're going to stone you. So that was really the end. That was the end. That was at the end of the 950 years. قالوا يا نوح قد جادلتنا فأكثرت جدالنا فأتنا بما تعدون إن كنت من الصادقين. They said to him, we reached the limit with you. We don't believe in you. Stop reaching out to this God that you claim that he exists somewhere. And if you are true, a prophet of God, bring the mass punishment on us. Have you this Lord, have this God that you claim, send this punishment on us. That is a turning point in the history of any disobedient community. When they challenge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there is no comeback. This is the end of their guidance. So at this point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to send the mass punishment to them, which is the flood that we will see in a few minutes, inshallah. فأتنا بما تعدون إن كنت من الصادقين. Indeed, if you are truthful, then bring this punishment on us. Ask your Lord to bring the punishment. قال إنما يأتيكم به الله إن شاء وما أنتم بمعجزين. He said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate decision maker. If he wishes, he would bring this punishment upon you. ولا ينفعكم نصحي إن أردت أن أنصح لكم إن كان الله يريد أن يغويكم هو ربكم وإليه ترجعون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ultimate decision and he will take the right decision for fact and for sure. Now, at this point, Noah lost hope 100% of his people. He reached the dead end. 950 years preaching out for his people to become good people and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in public, in private, calling them individuals, going to each individual. And they continued to resist him over and over and over again. Then at the end, he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, قال نوح ربي إنهم عصوني واتبعوا من لم يزده ماله وولده إلا خسارة ومكروا مكرا كبارا وقالوا لا تذرن آلهتكم ولا تذرن ودا ولا سواعا ولا يغوث ويعوق ونسر. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now Nuh is making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I reach the dead end with these people. There is no hope for them to follow me or to follow you, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship you. And you continue to use their gods, Waddan wa Suwa'an wa Yaghutha wa Ya'uqa wa Nasra, and I give up. I can't really continue worshiping them. There's no hope for them. How many years did Nuh spend at this point of calling his people? 950 years, exactly. 950 years. So again, Nuh became a prophet at the age of 50, continued to reach out to the monotheists, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 950 years. At that point, he was 1,000 years old. At that point, he was 1,000 years old. At this point, when Nuh lost hope in his people, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the mass punishment on them because he was completely fed up. 950 years calling them, and just a very few of them believed in him. The rest were massively resisting his da'wah. وقد أضلوا كثيرا ولا تزد الظالمين إلا ضلالا مما خطيئاتهم أغرقوا فأدخلوا نارا فلم يجدوا لهم من دون الله أنصارا وقال نوح ربي لا تذر على الأرض من الكافرين ديارا. Verse 26, Nuh said, my Lord, do not leave upon earth from among the disbelievers inhabitants. That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroy them. That was the call of Nuh, the da'wah or the dua of Nuh upon these severe disbelievers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إنك إن تذرهم يضل عبادك ولا يلد إلا فاجرا كفارا. Indeed, if you leave them, They will mislead your servants and do not beget except wicked, disbelieving from their offsprings. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي ولمن دخل بيتي ومؤمنا والمؤمنين والمؤمنات ولا تزد الظالمين إلا تبارا. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgive my sins, forgive the sins of my parents, and forgive the sins of those who believed in me and entered my home. Because the believers, the very few people that believed in him, they used to come and visit him at his home, and Nouh made the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them and forgive their sins. So that was the end. That was the end of the da'wah of Nouh. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the glad tidings to Nouh. He said, now is the time. واصنع الفلك بأعيننا ووحينا ولا تخاطبني في الذين ظلموا إنهم مغرقون. ويصنع الفلك وكلما مر عليه ملأ من قومه سخروا منه قالوا إن تسخر منا قال إن تسخروا منا فإنا نسخر منكم كما تسخرون فسوف تعلمون من يأتيه عذاب يخزيه ويحل عليه عذاب مقيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Nuh to start building the ark. What is the ark? The ark is a huge ship. There are several narrations about the size of this ark. Some historians said it was 350 meters, which is about 1,000 feet long, and others said up to 1,200 meters, which is about 3,700 or 4,000 feet long. It was really massive in the size. How did Nuh build it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him. Did the people of Nuh know how to build ships and arks? The answer is no, because they lived in land. They lived in Iraq, and Iraq is not near one of the oceans. It was very far from the sea. So they didn't have the art or the knowledge of how to build the ships. And that actually is a great explanation of this ayah from the Quran. When Nuh started cutting the bark of the trees and then chip them, make them smooth and nice, and then put them together and nail them together or tie them with ropes, etc. And so the ark started to shape up. His people started to walk by the ship or the ark. And then they started to mock him. Nuh, you are building this ship here. There is no water here. What are you doing? You must be crazy. And then they started mocking him. They started making fun of him. So Nuh, every time a group of people comes and make fun of Nuh, he would reply back to them, saying, now you are making fun of me. Wait for a few days, and then I will make fun of you. I will make fun of you when the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come upon you. He continued to build the ship until he perfected the ship, perfected the ark. It was massive, very large. There are some descriptions about the ship. As I said, some of the Tabi'een, Al-Hasan al-Basri, for instance, he said that the length of the ship was about 600 arm long, which is about 600 meters or 1,800 feet. And the width was half of that. Ibn Abbas said it's 1,200. So there are some narrations about the size of this ark. For us, it does not really matter, because the length of the ark, the time of this story, the location of this story are very secondary for us. We don't really care about them. We are not here to talk about history. We are here to talk about the lessons that we learned from the stories mentioned in the Quran. If these numbers, the side of the ship or where it happens or when it happened, etc., has any value, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have mentioned them in the Quran, as he did in some other stories. But for us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to understand the story, the gist of it, the lessons, the essence of it. That's what we really need to learn. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Nuh, continue to build the ship. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching and monitoring and knows everything. Then Allah said to Nuh, the ship or the ark is now ready. I'm going to give you a sign. I'm going to give you a sign. When can you sail with this ship? When can you start loading the animals? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered or commanded Nuh to really bring a couple, male and female, from every species, lions, kings, snakes, everything. so he can preserve the species on this ark. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Nuh, wait for the sign that will come to you before you start loading the ship with the believers, which was said between the number of 7 and 80, and a couple or a pair of every animal. So what was that sign? That sign was the water coming from a wood-burning stove. You didn't have gases at this time, didn't have electricity. So the only stove or cooking place was a wood-burning stove, right? Like a fireplace, fire pit. So at certain point, the Nuh started seeing the water coming out of this fire pit, which was really very unusual phenomenon. This has not happened before. But that was a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Nuh. When you see this sign, then start loading the entire ark. When Nuh saw that sign, then he started commanding his people and commanding the animals to start getting into the ship. There are some narration that this ship was 3 layers, that the top layer was for the birds, middle layer was for the humans, and the bottom layer was for the animals, like big size animals like elephants and lions and tigers and things like that. But for us, that does not make any difference. I'm just mentioning this for the entertainment of the discussion. So everybody got into the ship, including the 3 sons of Nuh. Nuh has 5 sons. One of them died before this incident, before building the ship. So there's not too much mention about him. And then he has 3 other sons that were followers and believers in him. Ham or Shem, Sam, and Japheth or Japheth. 3 sons that they were believers. The youngest and the 5th son of Nuh, his name is Canaan or Canaan. He was a disbeliever. He did not believe in Nuh, despite the fact that he was his own son. And when this incident happened, he climbed on top of a mountain. And Nuh asked him to come over. Please come and ride the ship. He says, no, I'm not coming with you. I'm going to stand on top of this mountain, which is very tall, and the flood will never reach me. So he was one of the disbelievers in his own father. Same as his wife, as we will see in a few moments. So 2 of the Nuh's family, his wife and his youngest son, they did not believe in him. They were disbelievers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the entire earth to start the flood. So the rain became so heavy. The rain started to fall so very heavy. And also the rivers and the seas the water started to rise up to the point that the entire earth, or at least the old earth where humans lived, which is the 3 continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe, they were completely covered with water. There are some narrations that the highest mountain was covered by about 12 meters above that highest mountain. But that's really the significant point here that we're trying to say, is that the entire earth was covered and everybody died on the earth, including the animals as well, and including the son of Noah. When Noah started seeing the water rising up, covering the mountain where his son is standing, his heart got bad feeling. And he said, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please forgive my son. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied back to him, he is not indeed your son. Blood-wise, yes, he is your son. He's the son biologically. He is your biological son of you and his mother, your wife, his wife, the wives of Noah. But indeed, he's not your son in believing. He was a disbeliever of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. So the ark started to float above the water for some times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God knows how long was the ark floating, but the entire earth was covered and the evil people of Noah were completely destroyed and drowned. So they all died. After some times, Nuh made dua. قل ربي أنزلني منزلا مباركا وأنت خير المنزلين. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please, I ask you to have the ark settle down on earth again and have the water kind of disappear. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded, yeah, before, I think we did mention this, the number of people in the ark, according to some narrations, they varied between the number of 7 to 80. And this is the story of Noah with his son. وقال اركبوا فيها بسم الله مجريها ومرساها إن ربي لغفور رحيم وهي تجري بهم في موج كالجبال ونادى نوح ابنه وكان في معزل يا بني اركب معنا ولا تكن مع الكافرين قال سآوي إلى جبل يعصمني من الماء قال لا عاصم اليوم من أمر الله إلا من رحم وحال بينهم الموج فكان من المغرقين. The same exact story that I mentioned a few minutes ago. The water rose up between them and the son of Noah, the bad son of Noah, the disbelieving son of Noah, Canaan, was completely covered and drowned. What about his wife? His wife was also a disbeliever. She did not come on the ship with him. She did not believe in him, which is surprising. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave an example of two wives of prophets. They were not righteous wives. They were disbelieving wives. The wife of Noah and the wife of Lut. Both wives were disbelievers. They did not believe in their husbands, the messenger or prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah said, فَلَمْ يُغْنِي عَنْهُمَا مِنَ اللَّهِ شَيْءٍ. That means the husband cannot intercede to the wife to enter paradise. And the wife cannot intercede. You know the word interceding, right? Interceding meaning to ask for forgiveness on behalf of somebody else. That's the word interceding, shafa'a. So everybody is accountable for their own deeds. The wives are accountable for her own deed. The husband is accountable for his own deed. Nobody whatsoever carries the sins of anybody else. Zero. Keep that in mind. Very important concept in Islam. The end of the flood, which is really very interesting point. So, as I said, some commentators, historians says that the water rose above the highest peak or the summit of a mountain by 15 arm length, which is 15 meters. What is more important for us to understand is that the entire earth was covered. All of the humans drowned, they died, except the believers with Noah in the ark. The end of the flood, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the earth to absorb the water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the earth to absorb the water and commanded the skies to stop raining. And everything went back to normal. The ark of Noah, according to this ayah here, واستوت على الجودي. The ark of Noah landed on a mountain called Al-Judi. That mountain still exists in Turkey. It's called, the spelling is C-U-D-I, and C in, I think in Turkish language, those who knows Turkish is like a G. So it's Judi, the same exact pronunciation in Arabic, the mountain of Judi. There are some traces on this mountain that the historians found the traces of this ark on that mountain, but it's not 100% proven to be the mountain. There are stronger evidence that the mountain where the ark landed is also another mountain in Turkey called the mountain of Arar, the mountain of Arar, where the rocks of this mountain, it has the shape of a large ark. And the historians, actually, this expedition went there 1991 and 1993. And then they found remnants of very old logs of wood that goes back 5,000 years ago. So that's most likely where the ship landed, somewhere in Turkey. So who lived after that? Who lived from human being after that? These 7 or 8 or 80 or 75 believers that were in the ship with Noah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended and planned to have all of them infertile. So they did not have any offsprings. The only one that has offspring is Noah. the three sons of Nouh, they became the fathers of the new humanity. That's why it is fact for Muslims to know that Nouh is the second father of human being. First father was Adam, the second father is Nouh. And this is very clearly stated in the Quran, وَجَعَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُ هُمُ الْبَاقِينَ. Surah Al-Saffat, chapter 37, verse 77. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the descendants of Nouh became the parents or the fathers of the new humanity. The three sons, Ham, Sam, and Japheth, or Shem, Sam, and Japheth. Everybody got that? So that's why Nouh became the second father of humanity. So we are all treeing up to Nouh, and Nouh trees up to Adam. You got the point, right? Is it clear? Good. All righty. So what happened to the humanity after that? What happened to the humanity is that all the humanity came from the three sons of Adam, as I said. And there are some narrations that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that Sam is the father of the people of the Middle East, which includes the Arabs and the children of Israel. So that's why the Jewish people now, they call themselves the Semitics. You got the point? This is a very clear point to understand. So when we say Semitics, that means the Arabs and the children of Israel as well. Yaqub, exactly. Yaqub is Israel, exactly. Yaqub is Israel or Israel, and Yaqub is the son of, no, Ishaq or Isaac. Please take a note of this. Yaqub is Israel, his second name is Israel or Israel. His father is Isaac or Ishaq. The father of Ishaq is Ibrahim or Abraham. And who is the son of Israel or Jacob? Yusuf or Joseph. So the only time there are 4 generations of prophets is happened during the time of Ibrahim. Ibrahim, his son is Ishaq, his son is Yaqub, his son is Yusuf. And that sequence. Okay, that's the only time that 4 generations are prophets. Back to the subject. The word anti-Semitic, it means actually anti-children of Israel and also anti-Arabs. So nobody can say that some Arabs are anti-Semitic. It doesn't make sense. That's completely against the history. And everybody knows that. This is one thing. So when you hear somebody is talking against Israel, for instance, like last Saturday, we have a big rally in the Mill Creek, downtown Kansas City here. All right. And a lot of people, myself included, I'm an Arab, I'm Egyptian, not actually Arab, but Egyptian. My wife is white American. She's not an Arab. We were there, and there is a lot of people where we were really chanting against the state of Israel. Does this mean that we were chanting anti-Semitic? Answer is absolutely not. There's a very big confusion about this subject. We have to have a clear understanding of it. Not only that, but also the Jews nowadays, a small percentage of them trace back blood-wise to Israel or Jacob. What do I mean? The children of Israel now are not the children of Jacob? Yes. There is a lot of people who converted to Judaism in the Middle Age in Europe under the kingdom called Ashkenazi Empire. There was a king in Europe, his name is Ashkenaz. He studied the different religions and he settled down that Judaism is the best religion. So, but the fact is not from the children of Israel, and he made Judaism the official religion of the state. So the vast majority of people in Europe, they converted to Judaism, despite the fact that they are not from the children of Israel. And that's what we see nowadays, the green eyes or the blue eyes Jewish people who speak Yiddish. They are not from the children of Israel. They are reverts, or not reverts. They are converted people in the Middle Age of Europe to Judaism. And that's really created a big problem. I'm sorry, I'm taking a snag in the subject, but this is very relevant to what we're talking about. When the state of Israel started, this is just a quick snag. It was meant to be for the Jewish people. Isn't that the case? They built a state for the Jewish people in Palestine, occupying the land of Palestine and claiming that land is for the Jewish people. So now they wanted to classify the people to be Jewish. So they said, who is the Jewish? Who is Jewish? Of course, the children of Israel, they said, this is by blood. We are the children of Israel. So, and even the state that you choose the name of is the state of Israel. So the Jewish people are the children of Israel. Well, they said, well, but that's not exactly true, because the vast majority of the immigrants to Palestine at that time were not from the children of Israel. They were from the converted people. So they believe in Judaism, but they don't have the bloodline. So it has to be a religious thing. Anybody believes in Judaism is a Jew. When the first group, who are the descendants of Yaqub, they said, well, not exactly, because many of us are actually atheists. We are only Jews by blood. We are inherited our lineage to Israel, but we are disbeliever. By the way, I'm not sure if you know this, 53% of the Jewish people are atheists. They do not believe in God. So that was really a critical point. Who is the Jew? Is it by blood or by religion? If it is by religion, is it conversion? Somebody converted to Judaism that has the right to become a first-class citizen in the new state of Israel? That debate went for years. Finally, it was never been resolved, so it was left open. That definition up till today is not defined. Who is a Jew? All right, so back to the subject of where we are right now. So Sam is a child of Nouh. From his descendants came the Middle Eastern people. Ham is the son of Nouh as well. And from his descendants came the African and the Orientals. And they have certain features with, that we all know. And Japheth or Japheth is the father of the Romans or the blonde race. So this is in one of the classifications. The children of Noah, as we said, Shem or Sam, he is often considered to be the ancestors of the Semitic people, including Jews and Arabs. And then Ham, he is considered to be the father of the Africans and the Orientals, Far East. And Japheth, which is the father of the Roman or European or blonde race. These are the three children of Nouh. And then Canaan, the one who died in the flood, and he never survived. There was some narrations of the first son of of Nouh, that I mentioned before.